Hey there, this is Jim Mellon. I just wanted to give you a couple of quick tidbits here in one of my video series. I wanted to address some of the things that people have been saying to me about real estate commissions coming up, changes that have been made this year or coming up this year. Seems like a lot of the public has a lot of information, but not all the information. Seems like some of the agents have some of the information, not all the information. We all have opinions about it. But I'm here to tell you that all of the things that had happened, the national lawsuit, the class action lawsuit against real estate commissions that started in Missouri, a place where they do not have buyer agency like we have here in Virginia, really will not change the real estate commission world one bit. There's some new forms that'll be filled out or changes to forms that we have, but sellers are going to pay agents, buyers are going to have to pay agents. Sellers may pay both agents for a sale. A buyer may pay their own agent, but the bottom line is there isn't anything in the settlement that is making a change to how real estate agents or the amount the real estate agents get paid. We've always been able to negotiate. We've always set our own rates. Every company has their own policies for how they need to earn income to pay their agents and pay their expenses. No different than any other business out there. So there's always been the ability for a consumer to negotiate with a client, for a real estate agent to negotiate the fees that they want to pay by paying somebody different. They may not be able to negotiate with the individual broker because they have set policies on what they're going to charge. But as a consumer, you have the right to go and shop around and pay a different rate if that's what you want or that's what you can find. There's never been an established rate. There's never been a set rate. There's never been a full commission. I've heard agents and other people say, well, I didn't get my full commission. There's never been a full commission. Full commission is getting paid what you're getting paid. That is full. So you'll see some changes coming up. Agents are going to do things a little bit differently. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some changes to the forms we fill out and have our consumers and our clients sign, and some procedural differences with how we go about showing a house to somebody who's is not represented or who doesn't want to be represented. We won't be able to show that client a house. So listing agents will be able to go show a house very easily to anybody without a buyer representation agreement of any kind. So I want to address some answers to questions, or I want to address the questions that I get asked most often. And one is, are your fees negotiable? Of course they are. I will negotiate my fees within the scope of what you want me to do. I can certainly tailor my fees to accommodate your goals, and they may be different than the guy down the street or the woman down the street that has different goals and needs. So that is certainly something I can continue to do. My fees are negotiable, and I trust most agents and most brokers have negotiable fees within the services that they're going to offer you and the services that you need. So I got a question about do I need to sign anything to go look at houses? Everywhere in the country now, where it's only been that case in Virginia and maybe 17 other states recently, you will have to sign some sort of a representation agreement with the agent who's going to show you the house, as long as that's not a listing agent within the firm that's listing it. So if you call me as an agent and I don't represent the seller, I'm going to have to ask you to sign some sort of a representation agreement, which is going to detail how long you're employing me, what I'm going to do for you, what your obligations are to me as a buyer, and then how long that employment agreement is going to last. It could be as long as an hour, as short as an hour. It could be as long as 90 days. We'll agree to whatever you want to agree to, but we're going to have something signed that's going to stipulate how much I'm going to get paid, and that's ultimately is how much you're going to pay me. And that's always been the case here in Virginia, at least for the last 20 years. So one of the things that came up during the lawsuit was the evidence that buyer's agents were advertising their services as free. That was a big gripe within the lawsuit, was agents would say their services were free because somebody else was paying them. And that may not have been clearly disclosed or clearly explained. Sometimes how we go about explaining things seems real matter of fact because we're used to doing this every day, but we fail to understand sometimes the consumers don't have a clear grasp on what it is we do or how we actually get paid or how somebody's going to pay us. It's kind of out there in a magical world that it just happens and nobody really knew how it happened. But one of the things going forward is buyer's agents cannot say their services are free unless they're truly, in fact, free. And I don't know too many people who are going to work for free. It does happen from time to time in the course of a transaction. You might have to do that. But I can honestly tell you from a lot of my friends and my own experience, I can't afford to work too long for free. There are people looking for money from me that if I tell them I'm not earning money, they don't want to necessarily lend me credit or allow me to do things where I'm not paying them back. I think most people that are out here in the world today are working. I expect that most of them are getting paid by their employer, and they're probably not going to want to work for free. So somebody's paying them, and in all of those cases, it's the end user of a product or a service that's paying the bills. If I go buy a loaf of bread, I'm paying everybody in the chain of events that happen to bring that loaf of bread to the grocery store. And I don't necessarily get the chance to negotiate those fees. I pay my $3.39 loaf of bread because that's what they tell me I got to pay. Real estate's a different world completely, and everybody expects us to negotiate and have all these resources and not get paid for them, and that's just not the case. So yes, an agent who says they're working for free, that's not probably going to happen here in Virginia, certainly, and none of my friends in real estate have ever said they work for free. They're getting paid to work, and they should get paid to work, and you should be paying them to work. That's just how this world works. Thanks for the question. So sellers love this one. Sellers are asking me, well, I don't have to pay the buyer's agent anymore, correct? Well, in reality, the sellers never had to pay the buyer's agent. It was something that the real estate agents did. It was part of a cooperation agreement between brokerages, and it was a pattern that we always asked sellers to incentivize the buyer's agent by paying those fees. At least we've been doing that in the 21 years I've been in real estate. So you don't have to pay as a seller. You don't have to pay that buyer's agent. However, if you don't pay them, there's a pretty good chance that agent's not going to be able to convince their buyer to pay them so that they can show you the house. In reality, in a perfect world, in my world, I think, I would love to see a buyer determine their agent's value and pay them that, agree to pay them their fair fee, and then my seller pays me a fair fee to list the house, and everybody goes home happy. It's not always the case when one of the two people is paying everybody. It would be no different than me expecting my buyer to pay the seller's agent fee. If I went to a buyer in a counseling session said, well, you're going to need to pay me X amount of dollars because I'm going to have to incentivize the seller's agent to work with our contractor, let us see the house. I can't imagine too many buyers would be willing to pay the seller's agent, but I got a secret for you. The buyers are bringing the money to the table in every real estate sale, and they're the ones that are bringing the money that's going to pay everybody. So technically the buyers are already paying the selling agent. It just happens to be the sellers that are writing the check to one or both of those people. That's the way it is. Thanks for the question. So the truth of the matter is there's really any number of scenarios that are going to happen between buyers and their buyer's representative, or sellers and their seller's agent and their seller's brokerage firm. There is no way to anticipate everything that's going to happen. When you're interviewing your agent, whether they're a listing agent or a buyer's representative, talk to them about the options that they have, how they can represent you, what the fees are going to be, how long that agreement's going to last, and what your obligations are as the buyer to that one particular agent. In general, these agreements that we're making are between those two people. It's actually between the broker and the agent, not necessarily the agent that you're talking to, but the firm that they work for. I'm fortunate in my situation. I happen to be the agent and the broker of my firm. I'm the only employee, the only one who's here to do anything. So whether you're working with me as a buyer's agent or a seller's agent, you're dealing with me and me only. That's a good thing. So without going into a lot of extra detail or having a commercial for what it is that I do and what's different about me versus I think every other real estate firm in Williamsburg anyway, is I'm a flat rate real estate agent and firm, which means I establish the rate, a single dollar amount that my client's going to pay me, whether they're a buyer or a seller, based on what they want me to do and how much work I have to do. In today's world, buyers are doing a tremendous amount of their own work, sometimes to their detriment, but sometimes buyers do a lot of extra looking and they get the ball rolling, and I don't have to do everything that I had to do. The internet has certainly made our job in some ways easier, in some ways a lot harder. But what I'm doing is establishing a rate based on how many hours I think it's going to take me to work for you, and in all cases it's been a fair rate. It's been a far lower rate than the percentage-based real estate fees that you've seen typically charged. So I've got sellers that are paying me $5,000 to $8,000 to represent their house and sell their house for them, and that's anywhere from a $300,000 house to a $500,000 house or above. It might cost a little bit more for a slightly more expensive house because I'm going to do a little bit different marketing for that. Recently sold a house for $420,000 and that seller paid me $4,500. That was about 1% less, just 1% of the price of that sale to represent them. And on that particular one, I paid the buyer's agent twice as much money as I got. So that buyer's agent made more than I did, and she might have worked harder. I don't know, but that's just the way it worked out. I've got rebates that I've offered to clients because I was getting paid more as a buyer's agent than what I was charging my client. So those buyers got money back at the closing table because I wasn't going to keep the money that I was being paid by another side. So my fees are negotiable. They're flat rate for listers and for buyers, and I think that's a trend that I'd like to see continue in the industry. I don't know that that's going to happen. It doesn't work for a lot of companies. It does work for me. So if you hire me, I'm going to tell you how much it's going to cost, and it's going to be that dollar amount no matter what I sell your house for. And it's generally going to be a lot less money than a percentage-based fee. Thanks. So that's all I got for now. I'm going to be back time to time and finish some more discussions and entertain some more questions as things change in the industry and in our local market, in our local MLS. There's a lot of new exciting things happening. I hope to bring some light to some of those and inform some of my real estate agent friends some of the cool things we're doing for them too. Thanks.